Hey there, welcome to this week's follow-up members only lesson. And before you do anything else, make sure you go watch that original YouTube lesson first. There'll be a link down below if you haven't watched it already. So this week we talked about the pentatonic scale, something that is a topic of conversation a lot when you are learning to play guitar. But specifically this week, we are talking about how to actually make it sound good. Now, there are so many different approaches to making the pentatonic scale sound good, since that's where a lot of guitar players start. But I wanted to kind of shift the focus and do kind of my own twist on how I would approach making the pentatonic scale sound good. Now, typically, my first kind of instinct is to immediately expand that scale out into the full major and minor scale. I feel like as soon as you add those extra notes, it just gives you more options. But I think it's fun also to kind of create that limitation of just sticking to the pentatonic scale, especially with the flexibility that the pentatonic offers. Being able to really master just the pentatonic scale is pretty valuable. So basically, just as a recap, we split it up into kind of three main sections, that lesson. The first one, we talked about our approach. And in that, our approach to the pentatonic scale involved just breaking down a lot of the habits or muscle memory that you have when it comes to the pentatonic scale. When most players are learning these types of scales, they learn to play the scale up and down and up and down and up and down, whether it's to a metronome or without, but usually along to a metronome. And they basically imprint that scale into their muscle memory in their hand. So what happens is every time you sit down to play that scale, you're thinking of it and playing it, and even not thinking about it, right? It's happening subconsciously that you're playing through the scale. So then what happens is when you go to solo with that scale, your hand is not seeing a whole bunch of options. It's seeing, after this, I go here. So I only have one or two options to go back in the other direction. And that's really all you have. So then I see a lot of kind of late beginner intermediate players. I see them a lot of the times just kind of going up and down the scale and maybe stopping and starting at different points. And that's kind of it. Now, one way to kind of approach this that some teachers do is to kind of teach you licks, and then you play your lick inside the pentatonic. This does the same thing. It doesn't give you creative options. It just, again, imprints this rigid, play this, then play this next, which is what we want to kind of break down, especially if you want to kind of ascend and be able to be creative with these types of scales. So what we did instead is we kind of got you to skip notes, right? Repeat notes, change direction on a dime whenever you can. And being able to do these things is just going to break that down. It's going to be pretty hard at first, especially when you start combining them. But over time, it definitely, you'll notice a difference, because it is very, very possible. And the earlier that you do this, you start breaking down that muscle memory, the easier it will be. So if someone who's been playing for 10 or 15 years and they feel like, or longer, and they feel like, man, it's so, I'm so scaly when I play, well, it's going to be a lot harder than somebody who's just kind of getting into this stuff. So again, if you haven't started, start this right away. Now, the second section of that lesson is opening up our pentatonic scale. And so a lot of times I talk about the home base and that being position 1, and then you kind of expand outwards from there. You can obviously, if you know them, do all the positions. That's great. But I just focus on position 1 and then one position on either side. I feel like that's a great kind of starting point, and you really don't have to ever go beyond that. When it comes to playing great solos, a lot of times you're kind of just sticking to that kind of one area of the fretboard for the most part. But the idea is to break down those guardrails, I think is the best way to put it, in those vertical scales, because we so often see them as we're locked into, when we play position 1, we're playing position 1, and then it's like, well, we need just one out to move to position 2, and then we play in position 2 up and down, and then we find our kind of one out and we slide back, and then we want to get rid of that whole mentality and essentially just play across seamlessly. And again, this is something that's not going to happen overnight, and something that you are going to have to practice, because you are eliminating and getting rid of a lot of that muscle memory. So the way that I kind of like to approach it is through kind of like a visualization lens. So rather than thinking, okay, position 1, position 2, position 5, you're just seeing it as kind of one larger, I'm allowed to play these notes shape. And when you look at them, it can be a little bit overwhelming, but if you just kind of start thinking of it as just one big master shape rather than just those individual vertical lanes, you're going to notice a really big difference. So what I would do here is, as I'm comfortable with position 1 and then position 2 and 5, I would spread myself out even further and I would go into positions 3 and 4. And of course, try this in different keys where then the positions, like the limitations of the fretboard, kind of stop you from being able to put positions in certain places. But just like with any other pentatonic exercises, you kind of know how to shift keys. So that would be my first kind of recommendation of where to go from here. Now, something else we talked about was the techniques that you can add. That was the final section of the lesson, was the techniques that you can add to make what you play actually sound interesting or cool. Guitar is one of those instruments. It's very, very tactile. You have a lot of control over what a note sounds like, right? When you play it, you can play it really light. You can really pick here. Let me turn my delay off. So you can play it really hard. You can bend that note a little bit out of tune, a lot out of tune, right? You have all of those options where a lot of instruments are kind of locked to play the exact note. You aren't stuck with that. And so what that allows you to do is really just explore creating your voice. And I mean, realistically, it is a very voice-like instrument as you gain that control over what you're doing. And those techniques are kind of designed to do that. Something you'll see me do a lot, I didn't mention it specifically in the video, but with those choked bends, right? When I do that, I actually like to do it a lot on my first fingers as well. So you'll hear me go like this a lot. And do that. So that's something I would recommend practicing a little bit as well. And one of the great things about these choked bends is that it doesn't really matter if you are perfectly in tune when you do them. So it is kind of a bit of a cheat code because you don't have to make sure, right? You don't have to make sure you match with your bend because you can just choke it off early. So it sounds like it's rising, but that early choke off kind of allows you to get away with it not being perfectly accurate. And it sounds a lot cleaner, right? When you choke that off rather than going, cleans things up really, really nicely. So that's one that I really would encourage you to just play around with over and over and over. As far as like other techniques, I mean, legato hammer-ons and pull-offs are a really, really big one. I also like to add just straight up muted kind of ghost notes to what I play. So the idea would be like when I'm playing through the pentatonic, right? Those muted. There are a lot of other little nuances and stuff you can throw in there too. But as far as practice goes, it's pretty straightforward. I would take everything that you learned in that YouTube lesson and apply it to another track and another track and another track. Now, the track that we used in that video is not available. It's like a royalty-free song that I can't give you access to, but I have plenty of backing tracks that this will all work along to. So what I would do is I would take one of those tracks, starting maybe in the key of A minor or C major, because that's where we were practicing it, and just work on it. Once you feel like you're kind of getting the hang of things, then I would move on to a different track in a different key, shift things around, because it's more than just the key. It's also the feel of the song, the pace of the song. It's all going to make you think and act a little bit different, especially the chord progression within the song. Every single time something changes in the context of the music, you are going to act a little bit different. And if you ever catch yourself just, oh, I'm just going up and down the scale and it's not sounding good, just stop, slow down, and try and implement a lot of these things we talked about in the lesson. Don't be too hard on yourself. This is something that is not just it's overnight and I'm immediately better. Maybe if you can add one or two of these things over time and then eventually work your way up to adding them all, you will notice a difference. So that's going to be pretty much all I've got for you. If you have any questions at all about any of this stuff, please make sure you leave those down below this video. I'd be happy to answer them. And other than that, I hope you have a great week or weekend whenever you're watching this, and I'll see you very soon.